Hey guys, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by this really cool ozone generator from TrulyHeal.com. It's from Marcus, our friend Marcus Freudemann. He was on episode 490, and he's got a really great course and a really great ozone therapy whole thing that he's got going on over at Truly Heal and how to use ozone to improve your health. And ozone is great for boosting your immune system, killing bacteria and viruses, increasing the oxygen level of your cells. People have used ozone for herniated discs, diabetic ulcers, cancer, shingles, Lyme disease, arthritis, autoimmune diseases, and all kinds of things. Everything in between. Vaginal infections, tinnitus, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, digestive issues. Ozone is an amazing therapy. It also helps reduce heavy metals in the body. So it's a great course that he's got and a great program. So we'll put a link if you want to listen to the show or check out his free webinars. We'll put a link to that on this show page. And we're also brought to you by Magnetico Sleep Pads. This is a really great product that we talked to Dr. Dean Bonley, who's a doctor who's been researching this for, I think over 20 years. And he's developed a product that is essentially a sleeping pad that's filled with these high-powered magnets that you can sleep on and increase your circulation, increase your health, and improve the body's ability to get rid of heavy metals. It's an amazing machine. It's an amazing thing that you put on top of your bed and you sleep on these high-powered magnets. And he's been nice enough to give us a code if you want to get 10% off of your order. It is EHR, that stands for Extreme Health Radio, EHR10, and you'll get 10% off your order. Go to our store and watch the videos that we've done, and we've linked over to the site or to the interview that we did with Dr. Bonley, and you can learn more about these magnetic mattress pads. Really, really fascinating, unique technology that he's putting into these mattress pads. So go over to our store and check those out. You can get both the magnetic mattress pad as well as the ozone generator and all of that stuff at extremehealthradio.com/506. Today we're going to be talking about an interesting idea, at least I think, relating to how we sleep. And it's something super simple. It's something that we all can do to improve our sleep and to improve our health. And you probably never would have thought about what a simple concept this is, but it's the idea of raising the head of your bed 6 inches above where your feet are. Super simple, right? I mean, anybody can do it. There's no products to buy, really. There's no program or course to get. There's none of that. All you got to do is just raise the head of your bed 6 inches and start cataloging the benefits to your health that this could provide. So we're going to be talking with Andrew Fletcher today, and his website's Inclined Bed Therapy. And this is an interesting concept, at least to me, I think, because I'm really into the idea of being able to make really big strides and big gains in your health with relatively little work. And one of the best things that I think is great are tools that you can implement into your life that either don't cost much or don't take a lot of time, or things that you can adopt into your life or bring into your life that you do anyway, right? Like, for example, I'm doing this show on a standing desk. So I'm standing while I'm doing the show with you, sleeping. We have the magnetic sleeping pads in our store. We have the grounded bed sheets in our store. You could incline your bed or raise the head of your bed by 6 inches. And, these are, you're going to go to sleep every night anyway. So why not make it the best ever, right? And it's so simple. You don't have to try. It's not like going to the gym or trying to change your diet, which could be very challenging. So this is pretty cool. I'm really excited about this. Andrew Fletcher's been researching inclined bed therapy for about 23 years now. And he's had a lot of experience with people who have been able to change their health and their life pretty profoundly with this, with the science behind what he's doing at inclinedbedtherapy.com. So this is going to be a unique and interesting conversation with Andrew. I'm really excited to have him on the show today. So let me make sure. Oh, before we introduce him, just want to let you know that we do, 3 shows a week on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. So if you want to keep up to date with everything we have going on, probably the best way to do that would be to text the word Get Healthy to 33444. And you'll be able to sign up to our newsletter list and get access to everything we have going on. So that's probably a good thing to do just to make sure you don't miss any of these kind of unique shows that we do. It's pretty interesting ideas. We share a lot of free shows every week. So if you're interested in making great gains in your health and want to stay up to date with everything we have going on, that would be a way to do that. So if you want to sign up to our newsletter, just text the word Get Healthy to 33444 and you'll be off and running. I'll send you some bonuses and you can sign up right there on your phone. So, all right. So I will turn this down and I will turn Andrew's mic on. Thank you so much, Andrew, for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me from across the pond.
Yeah, you know what? You and I going back and forth for some time. For some reason, I don't know why, but I thought you were in Australia, but you're in the United Kingdom.
Yes. Old Blighty.
Were you ever in Australia, or did I just read that wrong?
No, my son lives in Australia. Perhaps that's where the confusion came.
Oh, I see. Okay, so was I correct about that? Have you been studying this for over 17 years?
23 years.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. So when you first got started studying this, I see that you were looking at sort of the science of nature and trees and started looking into it from that perspective. Was there were there any health issues going on in your life that you decided to look at this?
Not at the time, no. It was, really strange start. I was involved in an irrigation project, and I tried to understand how we could stop salts accumulating on the sand where irrigation was taking place. And I noticed the trees in the background were actually thriving, so they solved the salt problem. If you get high evaporation rates in the desert, you'll leave behind a crust of salt, and that will poison the land and cause you to move elsewhere. But these trees, they never moved elsewhere, and the land beneath them was fertile. So the question I asked was, what were the trees doing with all these salts? Simple question, but this is what started it all off. So I read a GCSE biology book to swat up. I was quite hot on science when I was at school, but I started reading through the explanations for sap transporting trees and plants, and what I found there was laughable. Osmosis, for example, the water can somehow be attracted up a tree. It doesn't quite cut it for an engineer. Root pressure, the roots somehow squeeze water out the top of a tree. Again, it just has me falling about the floor in stitches. And capillary action, the tree's a giant sponge, so it can soak water up from the ground, talking 100 meters in the air to one of your magnificent Californian redwoods. Again, there's no pump involved. So I thought, well, maybe they're asking the question wrong. This is where it all started. So I rewrote the question, and the question I asked was, how do trees circulate sap? Because we have a downflow in the phloem, and we have a return flow in the xylem. And oddly enough, the xylem sap is always more dilute than the phloem sap. So there's an imbalance there. And that imbalance occurs because evaporation from the trees accounts for 98% of all the water that comes through the roots, evaporates through the leaves. Now, if you evaporate water by 98%, for every action there's a reaction, you must concentrate whatever's left behind by 98%. Well, because the sugars are produced by the leaf by converting carbon dioxide, that means that the sap at the top is becoming considerably denser than the sap at the bottom of the tree.
What did you say there? The stuff at the top was becoming considerably what?
Denser.
Heavier. Okay.
Yeah, because if you evaporate water away, it's like making a jar of jam. The more water you boil away, the denser the jam becomes. Well, it's the same with the sugar in the trees.
Okay.
Yeah, so gravity dictates that denser sap might migrate from a source, which is the leaf, down to a sink. That sink can be a fruit, or it can be a lower branch, or it can go right down the tree to the roots. And as it's flowing on its journey, it's taken up in the tree's ever-increasing cycle of growth, which provides a sump, if you like. And any sap that reaches the roots is actually rediluted by incoming water from the soil. So that means the upward flow is always going to be less dense than the downflow. So we have a flow and return system driven by evaporation and gravity. Now, this is absolutely off the scales in science in its order of magnitude. It's baffled scientists for hundreds and hundreds of years, and in fact it goes right back to the Bible. There's a quote, and I forget the passage, but it says the man goes to sleep and wakes up in the morning. He doesn't understand how trees and how seeds grow. So there's a connection there that even in the Bible, there's a connection there between plants growing and sleeping, which I found fascinating. I only found that a couple of days ago.
Wow. Yeah. So what role I've heard many people talk about this idea of how trees work, and a lot of people talk about free energy and implosion and the use of spiral action in order for trees to take nutrients from the soil and essentially move that sap and those nutrients in that water through the use of spiral action and implosion technology up against the flow of gravity. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Not needed at all. A simple flow and return system. The denser sap flows down, and each molecule that flows down drags on the molecule behind it, and that drag goes right the way back around the tree and down the xylem side. So if you move one molecule down, one molecule moves back up. We're in a loop, in a circuit.
Okay.
So if you can imagine for a minute that the sap is the equivalent to a piece of string. Now, and this string is on pulleys at the top of the tree and at the bottom of the tree.
Okay.
So if we clip a weight on the top of the pulley at the top of the tree, gravity will pull on that weight and draw it down, but it will cause the entire length of string on the opposite side to be drawn back up.
Okay.
But in 1995, I set up an experiment to prove this once and for all. I used 6mm bore tubing with two open ends placed in 2 bottles of water. The whole apparatus was filled with boiled water. The tube was 48 meters long. I raised it by the center of the tube up a cliff to 24 meters vertical in front of Forestry Commission scientists, journalists, and other witnesses, and including friends and family. And we saw that a small bolus or small amount of salt solution was capable of lifting thousands of times its own volume vertically up a cliff. No pump needed.
Wow, that's crazy. And this was the experiment you did in 1995?
Yes. And this experiment has just been stolen by 3 doctors who've published in Nature as well, and they've not given me the credit for it.
Oh gosh! So what does that experiment show clearly in your mind?
Well, it shows a simple flow and return system, which is a non-living physical force that makes things live. That's the order of magnitude.
Interesting.
Think about that for a minute, Justin.
Yeah.
A non-living physical force that makes things live.
Yeah, it's almost kind of spooky. What is that?
Well, if we then apply this simple flow and return system to the way the body functions, for example, because we have an upward flow in the body, which is predominantly the veins, and a downflow in the body, which is the arteries. And it's very similar to a tree, except we have a heart. So in the case of the body, evaporation from the respiratory tract, and if you think about the lungs for a minute, they're like upside down trees. The warm air that we breathe out contains a lot of water or moisture, and that moisture is supplied by the blood that flows through the lungs.
Okay.
So just like the tree's leaves, we evaporate water with each breath, which changes the density of the blood as it flows through the lungs. Now, that means that the blood exiting the lungs is always denser than the blood entering the lungs. And I did, in fact, find a paper on a pig's lung and a dog's lung, 2 papers, which showed that the blood exiting the lungs is denser.
Okay.
So that corroborated the story. So as the blood exits the lungs, it flows through the heart and then enters into the main artery. So for every breath we take, we're doing the equivalent of placing a pinch of salt in the arterial tree at the top with denser blood. So if we're aligned with gravity, i.e. standing upright, or on an inclined bed, or sitting correctly, then gravity has a clear flow through down from head to toe. And I decided to test this with my wife and a nurse called Stephanie Ness, both of whom had varicose veins. And what we did to test it was to raise the head of the bed, because now sleeping on a flat bed didn't make any sense at all. In fact, before I carry on, if your listeners will stop and think for 1 minute, they are sleeping on a flat bed because some person decided the human race should sleep horizontally. Now, did that person have any qualifications or indeed any knowledge of human physiology?
Yeah,
that's the question.
That's a bizarre thing. It's like one of those things where we just do it because that's what everyone else does, and that's how we were raised, and that's kind of weird. Yes. But
if we go back in history, when they pulled the beds out of the Egyptian tombs, they were raised at the head end by 15 centimeters.
Okay.
Or 6 inches. You're on the imperial measurements over there in the US.
Yeah.
And they were 6 inches higher at the head end. And these are in museums around the world. And people are going there in the droves to see them. And they're standing there looking at the elephant in the room.
Isn't that funny?
I have no idea why these Egyptians slept on an inclined bed.
Now, do we know that all of the beds were that way in Egypt, or just some of them?
Well, even there is some the workers' beds have been uncovered, and they're made of mud, and all of these are on an incline as well.
Huh. I've never heard of that. I've done a lot of research into Egypt and Egyptology, but I've never heard of that before. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, even Tutankhamun had an inclined camping bed, which folded up for when he was away from his realm.
Wow, what an interesting thing. So have we seen any other ancient cultures with inclined beds like that?
Yes, in Constantinople, there's a beautiful painting, and it depicts a whole ward in a hospital, and all of the beds are clearly inclined in that picture.
Really? In the hospital, so that's interesting.
Yeah, and there's also drawings of native Africans in tents doing surgery on C-sections, and the bed that the patient is on an incline.
So this is really interesting to me, because you could say that maybe all of these cultures were separated and didn't know about each other, or you could say that they knew about each other and shared this information, or you could say that this information was just universal in the same way that people sleep flat today, that it was common knowledge, and somehow they knew that sleeping inclined was the way to go.
Yes.
It's hard to say.
Yeah. Well, my take on it is perhaps they studied the way animals slept. Because if you study cows and sheep in a field, I mean, they're pretty stupid, cows and sheep, or so we believe.
Right.
But on a hillside, even if there's flat land in the same field, when they're lying down, over here in the UK, I don't know whether it's the same in the US, but they'll all be on that incline and all facing uphill.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because recently we just moved into a new house here, and we have a backyard, and in the backyard, it kind of slopes up on one side, near one of the fences, and I do my workouts out there. So when I go out there, I bring the 2 dogs, and they both sleep, or they both kind of just lay in the sun, and they kind of just enjoy themselves, but they're always sleeping on an incline, or laying at least on an incline. It's interesting.
Well, funnily enough, now you mentioned dogs. I mean, I love this conversation, the way it's going. I got 3 bull terriers, and I got them sleeping on an angle.
Oh, yeah?
And I measured the heart rate and the respiration rate.
Oh, wow.
What I found was that the heart rate was 10 beats per minute, or 10 to 12 beats per minute slower. On an incline when they were fast asleep. So there's no placebo effect with animals. Well, at least I believe so. And the respiration rate was 4 to 5 breaths per minute slower.
So why is that, and is that good?
Yes, I think, and now I'll just explain the other experiment we did, which was to measure my wife's respiration rate and heart rate, and my 2 sons sleeping, And then in turn, they measured my respiration rate and heart rate. And what we found right across the board were the same reductions, which is fascinating.
That is fascinating. Now, they found, so you did a test with your wife and with your children, and they tested you as well, and then you laid flat, got those readings. Did you do these readings like an aggregate average for each laying flat and laying incline over a period of days, or did you just do it one night?
Yes, it was over a couple of days, but it was pretty obvious. Wow. It was pretty obvious that we'd nailed something really important. Now, if I explain why I think that's happening, is that I actually believe that the lungs are inflating more and deflating more, which takes a little longer. Mm-hmm. And the chambers in the heart are filling up more and emptying more, which again accounts for the slowed heart rate.
So they're slowing more and the lungs are emptying more when you're inclined or when you're flat?
When you're inclined.
Okay. So that's a good thing.
Yes. We also found that the oxygen sats went up, and this was monitored on my son was in Derriford Hospital, and he'd broken a wrist, mm-hmm. and he'd had surgery on the wrist, and he was in the recovery room, and they had him on the monitor with his head down and his feet up, and I said, "Why have you got my son head down?" And she said, "Well, in case he vomits, he's not going to choke on his own vomit." Mm-hmm. Which is common, apparently. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Well, have you ever considered that you might be making him sick by having him upside down?" She said, "I've never really thought about it." I said, "Well, I'll tell you what I'll do with you. If you raise his bed 6 inches or 15 centimetres higher at the head end, mm-hmm. you'll see a decrease in his heart rate and his respiration rate. You'll see his oxygen sats go up, and he'll arouse within a few minutes." And she said, "Well, normally it's going to take about 15 to 20 minutes for him to come round. We'll try it." As soon as they tilted the bed, his heart rate and his respiration rate decreased. And he woke up and put his thumb up and he said, "Oh, okay, Dad." And the nurse was just running around the ward with my wife saying, "The man's a genius." What he's shown me in the ward is it's going to save the NHS a fortune. It's going to cut recovery time in half. Oh, yeah. She was absolutely amazed, but again, nothing happens. You think you've done enough each time, nothing happens.
So it's interesting with your son and recovery time. I'm starting to think about hospital beds, and a lot of people have. A lot of people look in hospitals, and people that are in the beds typically are, in one of those recliner bed kind of things, and their heads up. Do you think that this could cut recovery time for any kind of surgery?
Without a doubt, it would save millions of lives over the years, millions of lives.
Really, just from putting your head of your bed 6 inches?
Yes.
Now, when I think about that in hospitals, I'm thinking, I forget what those kind of beds are called. There's a name for them where you can adjustable beds or something. But I know there's a brand name. I'm wondering, do your feet need to be adjusted as well, or can you just have, like in one of those adjustable beds, you know how they can kind of bend and fold? No.
Okay. You're effectively sitting in one of those beds.
Okay.
Your hips are designed to be rotated. If you're in that sitting position and you try to lie on your side, you're actually bending the hip joints against the way they were designed to be working. So you're stretching tendons and you're actually loosening the control of your hips. You're also causing pressure points because the weight of the body is actually pressing down on the mattress in your sitting position.
Okay.
And this is pressing the pelvis against the soft tissue, which leads to pressure sores, which is a major problem in the hospitals.
Okay, so what you're saying is that those adjustable beds that kind of will put your feet up or down or the back of your thing are no good. You want to do your whole bed at an incline.
Yes. And people have said to me in the past that, well, we'll make a foam wedge. Well, foam is compressible, so it's not really suitable. Again, back to tilting your own bed. Use blocks of wood. If you have wooden legs on your bed, you can actually cut some strong plastic pipe, which you would get from a builder's merchant, and cut that to the length and drop the legs of the bed in. There's lots of ways to do it for virtually free.
Yeah, it doesn't really take a whole lot. You know, we did a inclined bed. We moved just a little while ago, and before that, I'd come across your research, and did the inclined bed, but my wife wanted to, start small, and so I think we started with 2 or 3 inches just to start. But then we got kind of lazy about stuff, and then we just didn't extend it to this full 6 inches. So my anecdotal, response is like, well, this didn't really work for us. But then again, we didn't raise it. I think maybe 2 or 3 inches. But you're talking about for 6, right?
Yeah, well, 7 inches on some of the American beds.
Oh, wow.
Because your beds are longer than ours.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking for around a 5-degree angle.
5-degree angle, and so that could be 6 or 7 inches. And how many centimeters is that?
That's 15 centimeters is 6 inches.
6 inches. Okay. Wow, that's quite a significant amount. That's half a foot. Are people noticing any differences, like right after they do it for the first night?
Yes, absolutely incredible results.
Wow.
I have a friend of ours. She has a condition called psoriatic arthritis, and she had holes in the fingernails, and she confessed that she was ready for a wheelchair. And we tilted the bed, and she was a nurse. And she woke up in the morning. Normally, she would have to immerse her hands in hot water just to get the hands to move and release the pain.
Oh, wow.
And she normally that would take an hour or more. She'd be racked with pain through the day. She had terrible skin condition with the psoriatic, which is psoriasis and arthritic condition. Mm-hmm. And she woke up the very next morning, no pain, and the hands were moving fine.
That's interesting. Now, in all of your research with this, it got me thinking about inversion therapy for back issues. People many times will hang upside down for 5 minutes a day or something like that. What are your thoughts about that? Or does that tie in at all?
When you're on an inclined bed, because you're held in position by friction between your body and the mattress, your body's trying to slide down, but it's held back by the mattress. What this does is it applies traction to the spine every night, but gently, so there's no great tension. And this has been sufficient to correct scoliosis of the spine. Wow. So there's no need to hang upside down. You can get the same effect by being on an inclined bed.
That is interesting. So it's the opposite, obviously, of hanging upside down, but you're still getting the traction is what you're talking about, what's most important.
Yes. I've got another little caveat there, because we were experimenting with urine density, because if this theory was correct, it would change the density of urine. So again, using a simple hydrometer, I think it's called, which you use in the home brew kits, we measured the density of our urine, and what we found was that the inclined bed actually increased the density of the urine. So that meant more toxins were being drawn out of the body at night. When we were lying horizontally, the urine density went down. Now here's the icing on the cake. We slept upside down for a few days, head down, feet up. Mm-hmm. Both of us got diarrhea, by the way, which, yes. And in fact, it's been used for the weight loss program. In fact, Marlon Brando was advised to sleep upside down to lose weight. I wouldn't advise this for anyone. Yeah. But what we found was that our urine density when we were sleeping head down and feet up, besides having blinding headaches, went down to near water readings. In other words, the kidneys weren't functioning.
Kidneys weren't functioning at all when you were doing what? Hanging upside down or sleeping like that? Yeah. That is so fascinating. So my thinking is that, something like this could be extremely powerful, or if your research is wrong, which I don't think it is, it could be extremely damaging, because this is something that people are going to do for 8 hours a day for a third of their life, essentially. And with stuff like this, you want to make sure you're right and everything you're saying is correct, because it sounds amazing. And I've even heard you talk about glaucoma and pressure in the eyes and things like that, right? So have you had anyone that's gone through inclined bed therapy that have had bad results? And would that be a bad thing?
Yes, there is no cure as far as I'm aware of for death, and certainly over the years a few people have died,
Uh-huh.
but quite a few more people that have been sleeping on a flatbed have died also.
Uh-huh.
And the people I tend to help are people at the in a dire situation and desperate to try anything.
Okay.
But healthy people will tend to ignore this because we've always done this. My parents done this.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that an adverse reaction, blood pressure has moved in both directions.
Mm-hmm.
i.e., it's raised and it's lowered.
Mm-hmm.
It's been normalised as well. What's going on there, I have no idea. For blood to move in both directions, it doesn't sit very well with me, but more people have reported improvements in blood pressure. I actually have high blood pressure at the moment, ironically, but I have a problem with cysts on my kidneys. And this has not been caused by the bed. In fact, the doctor that diagnosed the cysts on his kidneys told me it's quite normal. He says, I've got them as well. Yeah, and he's never slept on an inclined bed. So it's very difficult to determine what adverse reactions people can have. But, at the end of the day, they can always stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fascinating because, like you said, it's challenging. You could say the same thing about home birthing, for example. You could say, well, a certain amount of people die per year, or a certain amount of babies die per year when the mothers give birth at home. That doesn't mean necessarily that giving birth at home is wrong or bad or in any way dangerous. It just means that there's also a certain amount of kids that die in a hospital, and so it's not necessarily, there's a lot of factors going on because, like you said, with someone with high blood pressure, they could be going through a stressful time in their life, or they could be, that blood pressure could normalize over time too. So it may not be directly, we're such, there's so many different dynamics and things going on in the human body in terms of our energy, our thoughts, our food, our stress levels and things. And so, but the fact that you've been studying this for as long as you have makes me think that you've done a lot of research in terms of finding an average with people, and you're finding good results.
Yes. It's been a little bit ad hoc, really, because what you would need a controlled study. Take type diabetes, for example. Dr. Tateki Yeating from Pohnpei Island, that's P-O-H-N-P, P-E-I, Pohnpei Island, which is in Micronesia. He's a doctor, and he got a group of patients with diabetes to tilt their beds, and I think there were 10 or 11 patients, and what he found was that 8 out of the 10, their blood sugar levels dropped, which was it was quite astonishing, really. And the two that didn't comply with the pattern had gone up. So he went to investigate what had happened, and he found that these two people, one had been binging and partying at a wedding reception and sleeping flat. Okay. And the other one had been to a funeral and excessive eating and drink, and had also been sleeping flat. And that when they corrected this, both their blood sugar levels come down as well.
Now, do we know, were they type 1 or type 2?
Type 2 diabetes, I believe, would be diet related over in Pohnpei Island, because the American diet had been introduced, and there's a tremendous problem with obesity. Oh gosh, in this island.
Any Western food, American, or gosh, I mean, it's just people eating these types of foods. It's going to have a really bad effect. Yes. Wow. So a while back, I was on your Facebook site, and I know you have a private group, but I'm not sure if you also have an actual Facebook page. And someone, I wish I could remember, I was trying to find it before we started recording, but someone had posted something. I don't know if it was about the dangers of sleeping inclined, or
Yes.
And you would respond to them.
That would be.
Was that correct?
Right. There's a doctor, Dr. Richard Asher.
Okay.
I think it was 1942. Hang on a second. I'll just see if I can find this.
Yeah, I couldn't find it. I remember, and then you would, sent a really nice response back with some of your research, and I thought that was interesting, but I couldn't find that.
Yeah, this Dr. Richard Asher wrote in 1942 in a paper called The Dangers of Bed Rest. He wrote, "Look at the patient lying alone in bed. What a pathetic picture he makes. The blood clotting in his veins, the lime draining from his bones, the scibula stacking up in his colon, the flesh rotting from his seat, the urine leaking from his distended bladder, and the spirit evaporating from his soul. Teach us to live that we may dread unnecessary time in bed. Get people up and we may save patients from an early grave." Dr. Richard Asher, 1942.
Oh, he was advocating the benefits of sleeping that way, of this way.
No, what he was advocating was that staying in bed is killing people. And he's watching his patients die in bed.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And to this day, we're still doing exactly the same. Nothing has been learned. In fact, to add a little bit more to this, nurses and doctors are still removing the pillows from terminally ill patients.
They're removing the pillows?
Yes. And this speeds up the demise of the patient, hurries up the death.
Really? So sleeping with a pillow, whether flat or inclined, is a bad thing? Sleeping without a pillow?
If you're on a flat bed and they remove the pillows, I was actually holding the hand of a lady that was dying from cancer, and I was asked to leave the room, and the room had a glass window to look through, and I saw two nurses come in and remove the pillows, and they put what looked like an artificial pillow, and the lady's head went straight down level with the mattress. Okay. Within a few minutes, she was gone.
So why is that a bad thing? Because of the blood pressure?
To lay people flat? Well, there's a lot of debate about euthanasia, and they're already practicing it.
What do you mean?
They're already practicing euthanasia. They're deciding when the patients die. And now I don't have a problem with this.
Oh, I see.
As you said, I think to relieve someone with tremendous pain and no hope from suffering more time in agony, then who would disagree with that? But the thing is, they know that laying a patient on a flat bed without a pillow will speed up their deaths.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so if someone listens to this and they just don't believe what we're saying, and they're sleeping on a flat bed, then it would be best for them to have a pillow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. I've been sleeping for a while now without a pillow. Now, what happens if you incline your bed? Do you want a pillow, or does it matter?
Well, this is interesting as well, because nobody's asked me this question. That for years we slept with two pillows, and I started to develop pains in my neck, and I was getting spasms in my neck, and I couldn't understand why. So we threw a pillow out, and we went to a single pillow.
Okay.
The problems vanished.
Okay, so were you inclined or were you flat?
Yes, on an inclined bed with two pillows, and I was getting pains in the neck.
Okay, so now you're on an inclined bed. Do you sleep with any pillows?
Yes, just one pillow.
Just one. Okay, now maybe you can steer me in the right direction here. The theory behind why I have been ditching my pillow was because of the of just how a lot of people have what they call these days text neck, where they're that forward head carriage, where the angle of their neck is pushed forward. And so I thought, now a pillow is artificially making my head move forward when I sleep. Was I incorrect about the dangers of that? Do you think?
No, I think that's perfectly logical.
Okay, but I do sleep.
I hadn't even given that much thought, to be honest.
Yeah, because I just felt like it was sort of not natural to have some artificial thing pushing my head forward when I slept, but I need to experiment more with the full 6 inches, I think, of the incline bed therapy and the use of with not having a pillow, I think.
Yes. So if I could just go back to the initial experiment, when my wife and her friend, or this nurse, tilted their beds, what we found was that over 4 weeks, both of the ladies had varicose veins that went flat. Now, the medical profession will say to get some temporary relief, raise the legs. We did the opposite. But that fitted exactly with my experiments at Brixham with the cliff, causing water to flow up to 24 meters.
I see.
It showed an increased pressure in the downflow, which would be the arterial side, and an equal and opposing decrease in pressure in the return flow, which is the venous return.
Okay.
So if you decrease the pressure in the veins, you're actually pulling the lining of the vein or the wall of the vein in. And when that happened, I knew that I'd nailed something really important. That led on to more research into edema, leg ulcers, and even gangrene had responded simply by tilting the patient's bed.
Is that because of circulation and pressure?
Yes, it changes the circulation. It actually speeds up circulation.
That is so interesting because when someone has, say, for example, gangrene or edema, which is always going to be down typically, well, with edema more, the ankles and the feet, you would think that the standard logic would tell you that if you're sleeping incline, you're going to increase the circulation in the blood and the pressure and all that going down to the feet, and that wouldn't be a good thing. But you're saying it's having the opposite effect.
It did have the opposite effect. And there may be an exception to the rule, but if we dig a little bit deeper into why people are getting a little bit more swelling when they're inclined, what we're finding is that stored edema around the body will inevitably migrate south.
Okay.
As you've pointed out. But we've also having changed the pressure inside the veins. Now, edema is caused because the pressure inside the veins is normally greater than the pressure in the surrounding tissue, so it forces fluid from the blood out into the surrounding tissue. But by demonstrating the varicose veins are pulled in, we are demonstrating that the pressure inside those veins must also have been altered. And now we've created the climate where the tissue is donating water back into the veins, which goes around the circulatory system and out into the urine.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting to me. I've heard in some of my research about adrenal health, and adrenals are what are largely responsible for us having the ability and the energy to stand upright as humans. And so it puts a lot amount of stress and pressure on the adrenals to work for us to stand upright. But what's interesting, I wonder if you've had any results or looked into the adrenal effect of sleeping this way, because in a sense, you're getting the beneficial effects of making the adrenals work, but you're not having to actually stand. So you're kind of doing it in a rest position.
Nothing on the adrenals has been reported back to me, I'm afraid.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so fascinating.
The lymphatic system. Also, there's no heart pumping away in the lymphatic system or indeed in the cerebrospinal fluid circulation, but it circulates. So what is driving those systems?
It's probably what you were saying earlier with the trees. How did you describe that? The unseen force that makes us live? What were your words?
Well, if I could explain that in detail, if we take a chicken's egg, and we've all had an egg for breakfast, hopefully there's no heart beating in it.
Right.
but the fact that the heart develops inside an egg which is totally disconnected from its parents indicates that circulation begins long before the heart develops.
Okay.
Now, because the eggs are elliptical, they can only be rotated across one axis. So the food sac is in the middle of the egg, and that migrates down through the albumen, and that creates the initial circulation. Then the egg is rotated again, and the same thing happens again. And what we start to see is the form of primary circulation taking place, which carves out the pathways in the albumen of the egg. And in fact, the pulsatile flow is observed in the well, I think it's called the primitive blast or something, or the I forget the name of it now. There's a primitive streak. That's a primitive streak.
Okay.
And this starts, and it actually starts in a loop of tubing, which looks exactly like my experiments at Bricks and Cliffs.
Really?
It's a single loop of tubing, and the circulation takes place in that loop of tubing, and then that loop of tubing twists and forms the heart.
Huh. So what's going on with the egg then? How is that showing the research that you're looking at?
Well, if we ask it, if a chicken lays an egg and we don't rotate it, then that egg don't develop.
I see.
They have to be rotated. The bird rotates the egg in the nest.
But is the rotation of the egg must be similar to the incline that you're talking about?
Not necessarily. Well, not necessarily. No. It could be vertical or indeed on an incline.
Okay.
But gravity would still act upon it. Now, the interesting thing is that gravity will act upon the blood and the body fluids, even if we're horizontal.
Mm-hmm.
So gravity is running perpendicular to all the vessels, which are running from head to toe, while we're lying on our back in a flat bed.
I see.
Gravity is still applying force to density changes, but in this case, it's slowing the circulation down because it's causing drag across the bottom end of the vessels.
I see. That makes sense. So if someone's lying down, if I'm just picturing this correctly, and they're just lying flat on the ground or on a bed, the circulation in the body is happening all the time while we're sleeping, going, I guess you would say parallel to the ground, but the gravity is going perpendicular. So it's pulling the different items that are supposed to be circulated in the blood, nutrients and cells and things. It's creating drag because it's being pulled down closer to the bottom.
It is.
I see. Okay. So that's slowing circulation down in effect.
Yes. Now I did mention the cerebrospinal fluid. Now, a lot of my work has been in helping people with neurological conditions. Because initially I was looking at varicose veins, helping people with varicose veins, because it was pretty obvious, if you could see changes in veins, then you had something you could actually prove your point with. Mm-hmm. But during the process, my own mother took part in the experiment, and after 4 weeks only, again, which seems to be a good number, she reported that she was able to move the toes and ankle on the left foot. And she hadn't been able to do that for 11 years.
Wow.
And she'd lost sensation in the leg as well, and the sensation returned as well.
Wow. So she was able to regain sensation in her legs as well as movement.
Yes. Now, that then prompted me to have a look into the way the circulatory system was working. And just like the explanations in trees, what I found was wholly inadequate. Nobody really understands how cerebrospinal fluid circulates. Mm-hmm. So I got a guy with multiple sclerosis, a guy called Roger Kirk. Mm-hmm. He passed away, Roger did. He was getting on anyway, but Roger was in a very serious condition when I met him. And in fact, he had an engineering background which helped him understand what I was talking about. And we tilted his bed, and Roger was actually featured standing by his wheelchair. He got out of his wheelchair and stood by his wheelchair. Later, he started to walk.
Oh, my goodness.
Which is, the guy was in the worst state with anyone with MS that I've ever seen.
Wow.
And his eyesight came back, which unfortunately was his downturn, because he had a little printing business set up, and he spent hours and hours and hours sitting in a badly fitted wheelchair. Which led to a pressure sore developing, which caused him to develop a serious infection, which ended up being his demise.
Wow. How long ago was this?
Well, this was back in 1995.
Oh, my goodness.
But then Roger came with me, because this happened over quite a few years. Mm-hmm. Roger came with me and introduced what had happened to him to a group of patients with MS, people with MS, at a local chapter of the MS Society. And we got a group of people there. I'm going to have to turn this noise down on my phone. It's annoying me. There you go.
No problem.
That's done. And I gave a talk and explained what had happened to these people that I've been helping. And by now I've been helping people with spinal cord injuries to regain circulation as well, regain sensitivity and movement. And bowel control had come back, bladder control had come back for people with spinal cord injury. It doesn't happen, but it did happen. Mm-hmm. And Roger came with me to talk to this group of people with MS. And we got these people to tilt the beds. There was only, I think there was 11 people that actually took notice, and there must have been at least 250 people at this event, but no one was listening. You know, I found it absolutely frustrating that they would prefer to talk about their illnesses and well, it's a bit like Facebook and other social media,
right?
Really.
Same
but
thing, right?
This was before the internet, and I just felt frustrated that I knew how important this was for these people, but we got some people to tilt the beds, and the results have been recorded in a report called the Raised Bed Survey, which is actually on the website as well. And what happened to these patients was incredible. You know, I got people out of wheelchairs. I got walking sticks were thrown away. 2 ladies regained their eyesight with supposedly irreversible optic nerve damage caused through long-term problems with MS. Wow. And they actually regained the sight. And one lady went on to complete an open university degree. She couldn't even see the outside of the computer.
Oh my goodness.
And then she was able to work at the computer.
Wow. So what do you think is going on? It's allowing the body to have better circulation, and as a result of that, nutrients and blood and oxygen get to be more circulated and delivered to cells, and the body's, sort of able to heal. Is that what's going on?
Yes, and much more. I believe that nerve growth and nerve regeneration is gravity dependent. Mm-hmm. In fact, I found some papers which say that they were actually growing nerves in egg albumin, of all things.
Really?
And what they've published is that nerve regeneration will only take place on a vertical plane. It doesn't take place horizontally. It only grows vertical. So nerves will only grow vertical.
That's fascinating. So why? Now I'm so curious. Why? Okay, so how do you think we got here? Do you know? You made a reference earlier in our conversation about someone at the very beginning decided that we need to sleep horizontally, and we've just been doing it. Do we have any research on how this started? Why are we sleeping flat?
No, but another piece of interesting research. Your question's a valid question, but the answer is no.
We don't have
no one's
record
taking
of that.
any notice of this.
All we do have is historical record of the Egyptians and ancient civilizations that have raised their beds.
Yes.
Okay.
And also, I found images of babies swaddled in a manger, and these were the ancient artworks, and the cots that they were in were on an incline. Really,
even little babies?
Yes. Now that's very important as well, because I was concerned that babies should never be laid on a flat bed. Uh-huh. Because I actually believe that that's the cause of sudden infant death syndrome.
Oh, right.
And indeed, I met Dr. Shireen Chandler, former research advisor for the Foundation for Sudden Infant Death, at her home in London. And she told me that I had solved sudden infant death syndrome with this theory.
Wow. Was she willing to go on record saying that, or did she say that privately?
She said it privately, but I wrote to her and questioned her about what she'd said. Wow. And she replied to my other points, but she omitted replying to that point.
Yeah.
And there were lots of promises made that they would help with the research, but then they used the caveat that you'd have to go through a university or through a hospital in order to get them involved. Mm-hmm. I would have to convince them that they're completely wrong about circulation in the body. That's not going to happen, is it?
Yeah, no. You can't have. I mean, we just had a doctor on the show, a really fascinating guy. Dr. Thomas Cowan, and he's written a book called "The Heart Is Not a Pump."
Yes, yes.
Fascinating guy, right? So you have all these
Yes.
these theories, and he's a medical doctor, and so here you are, talking about the different pressures in the body, incline bed therapy, and how that affects circulation, and the long-standing traditions of our mindset is very difficult for people to change. So I could see why people wouldn't want to accept this.
Yes. Now, the other thing it does, and I'm probably going to get my knuckles rapped for this, but I've known for a long time that we were skipping a lot of illnesses.
Uh-huh.
The people that were on incline beds seem to be avoiding. But if we did get colds and flu, we would be over them within a few days, and we certainly wouldn't get the symptoms that other people were getting. Huh. So with that in mind, then I started to look into the immune system, and my dream was to actually introduce this to people with AIDS in Africa. Mm-hmm. I actually, get a lot of pleasure out of trying to help people that have got nothing. There's a guy in Botswana got a group of patients that were near death with full-blown AIDS, chronic diarrhea, grey skin, no skin on the bones, right at the end of life, sorry. Mm-hmm. And we tilted the beds, and they got stronger. The diarrhea stopped. The skin went back to a normal colour. They just got healthier and healthier, and got out of bed and went back home. And they're still alive to this day, and I think it's been about 16 months now.
Wow. Did they do anything on top of your therapies, or?
No.
They just simply raised the head of their bed 6 inches.
The bed.
Oh, that's crazy. I wanted to go back a little bit and talk about little babies and children and things, because, obviously at most all cribs and everything are flat and pillowless. Have you seen or worked with or anecdotally talked to people who have put babies on a little slight incline like this?
It's common knowledge that a lot of people do put babies on an incline. Uh-huh. In fact, the incubators in hospitals are all inclined. And then the patient goes home, or the baby goes home, and the baby's put flat.
Yeah.
But, again, you would need a long study. How am I, a person with engineering background, going to convince a load of doctors that, they need to do a study on a huge amount of the population to see how many babies would die if they were inclined and how many babies would survive?
Right.
It's never going to happen.
Yeah, and that's the beauty about the internet these days, is that we can sort of directly bypass all of that stuff, because, although doing studies and doing, looking in and doing verifiable peer-reviewed studies is always a good thing, but, when you can't do that, you can put out information straight to people like this.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting about children, because I didn't know that a lot of the incubators, or I'm not sure what the word is when children are in the hospital, but a lot of them are inclined, you're saying, where you are? Yes,
they are. In fact, in most countries, they're inclined.
How much?
I would imagine, looking at it, it looks around a 5-degree angle, possibly a little higher.
That's interesting. I never really looked at that. That's interesting.
Well, the reasoning is that they do it to prevent GERD, which is esophageal reflux disease, which affects quite a few babies. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the story anyway, but okay. I'm sure it's to lower the death rates in the hospitals as well.
Wow. Okay. So that's, I wanted to talk to you also about, before I forget, about pressure in the eyes and pressure in the head. Yes. Albeit blood pressure or any kind of pressure that you're putting in people when they're sleeping in a flat environment. And there's, if my memory is correct, in your research, you're showing that people that have a high eye pressure, like a lot of people that have macular degeneration, might have an increased eye pressure. And so what you're showing in your research is that when you incline the bed, the pressure in the head drops. Is that correct?
It changes, yes.
Okay.
Yes. In fact, if you think about my experiment at the top of the cliffs, that loop of tubing at the top of the cliff would have very low, probably it should be forming a vacuum, but it doesn't form a vacuum. But the pressures are so low, they actually cause the water to boil.
Say that again. It caused the water to boil?
Yeah, at the center of the tube. Yeah, and that's what ultimately causes the experiment to fail.
Oh, interesting. So when someone is oh, go ahead.
Could I just stop you for 1 minute? Because I've been drinking water. And yeah.
Sure. Do you need to go to the restroom?
I need a bathroom visit.
Okay. Yes, I will do the same.
Yes, good man.
Okay, excellent. Hey guys. All right. While we both go to the bathroom and take a break, I thought I'd just insert this little bit here. I just wanted to thank you guys so much for your support on Amazon lately. It's been so huge, and we have appreciated it so much. And I've made it even easier for you to support us on Amazon. And if you like the show and like what we do, it's a great way to support us, and it's super easy. If you were to go to our website, extremehealthradio.com, and you only have to do this one time, all you have to do is go there, and on the right-hand side, you'll see a banner for Amazon, a picture. But below that, there's some blue text. And if you were to click and drag that blue text off of the website onto your desktop, it'll create a little icon there for you. And if you use that icon, that'll just go to Amazon.com through our affiliate link, and that will help support the show. So if you remember to use that icon for every single time you make a purchase, you don't have to remember to go to our website or go to Extreme Health Radio. I realize it's difficult to do that. And I forget to do that a lot of times too. But all you got to do is remember to go through the icon that's now on your desktop, and you only have to do it once, and it's just a great way to support the show. So if you like what we're doing and want to support us on Amazon, and if you make regular purchases there, that's probably the best way to do that and to support the work that we're doing. So thank you guys. You guys are awesome. I'm so appreciative, and gosh, I'm just blown away. So thank you so much, and let's get back to this episode. Okay, Andrew, we are back.
Hi, Justin.
Excellent. Feel better?
Yes.
Likewise. I've been drinking a lot of water lately too, and I had to go to the bathroom as well. I wanted to ask you, with all of your research and all the people you've been working with, I know you have a Facebook group that you work with people, and people probably share a lot of their experiences and health turnarounds. What kinds of things have sort of made an impact on you in the last 3 or 4 years in terms of the biggest turnarounds you've seen?
A girl with cerebral palsy, parents rang me up and asked me if a male bull terrier would be okay around a severely disabled child. And I said, "What's the matter with your kid?" I said, "Why do you want to know?" I said, "I might be able to help." She said, "Don't be bloody ridiculous." She said, I rang for advice on the dog. I said, "I can't make you listen." She said, "Well, spit it out then." And she was really abrupt. And I explained everything that I've been doing with people with MS and people with spinal cord injury and the results that we'd seen. And she started to cry. So her husband come on the phone, and he gives me a roasting. And then I hear her say, "Well, listen to what he has to say." So I have to explain it all over again. Anyway, they tilted the girl's bed. And the prognosis in 95 was that if this 12-year-old girl developed the ability to comb or brush her own hair, let us know, but don't hold your breath. And she had cerebral palsy, which is brain damage from birth. So the bed was tilted, and then as the weeks and months rolled by, I kept getting increasing positive results, increased strength. She was becoming more upright in a posture. She was holding her head up she was able to support her own head. Very bright girl. And then she was at school the one day, and I got a phone call, and the parents had contacted me to say that they were on the way to the school because of what had happened to the girl. And she got out of a wheelchair and walked for the first time in 12 years.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. And how long had she been sleeping with incline?
Yes, that's all we did.
No, but how long had she been doing that?
I think it was about 8 months when that happened.
Wow. Huh. That is so interesting.
There's another child as well with an enlarged pituitary gland. The pituitary gland controls everything in the body.
Right.
And he'd lost a tremendous amount of function, this lad. And I convinced the mother to tilt the bed. they were told that he would never recover.
Mm-hmm.
He did recover, and he ended up going back down the gymnasium working out.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Enlarged dysfunction in pituitary gland.
Now, was this kid overtly tall? Because you know how a lot of times that can result in people being abnormally tall.
I've never met him.
Oh, okay.
They actually, I've been invited to go and meet them. They live in quite close to me.
Uh-huh.
But I've never been to meet this lad.
Wow. What kind of other cases have you been seeing?
Complete spinal cord injury. There's a guy, John Kahn. The last John passed away. He was 75 or 76 when he died.
Mm-hmm.
But John regained his bowel control, his bladder control, sensitivity. But actually, he asked me to go over and set up 2 parallel bars at his home. And he stood up in between the parallel bars on camera on Carlton Television News. Mm-hmm. And the cameraman and myself, witnessed him walking from one end, unsupported, just steadying himself on the parallel bars, and turned around at the end and walked back to his wheelchair and sat down. Wow. First time in 11 years.
Jeez, gosh, and talk about what's so cool about what you're teaching people is that it doesn't really cost anything. It's pretty cheap.
You'd actually do me a great favour if you managed to do it for free.
Yeah.
Because I'm a bit of a freak, anything that comes along for free, that's okay with me.
I mean, that's a great thing because a lot of times, with obviously in people in different health circles, they're spending money on supplements, and there's nothing wrong with that, or spending money on, Vitamix blenders and different juicers and things like that. But
yes.
What a great thing, because as far as I know, you can't use a blender or a juicer for 8 hours every day, right? I mean, sleeping, you're really...
Yes, you can, but it won't last very long.
You're helping your body.
Just a recap, bedwetting with kids, it's stopped bedwetting, but it's also stopped it in... Adults develop a problem called nocturia, where they have to keep going to the bathroom in the night time. It completely reverses that. I'm trying to think of other conditions it's helped with. Parkinson's disease. There's a guy over in Torquay. Again, he's passed away. But these are all people, and if you could have met the guy, his attention span was about 2 minutes, and then he'd be gone. You couldn't communicate with him at all, and what you could communicate with him was very, very difficult. But he was a plumber by trade. So I actually believed I was getting through to him. Anyway, they tilted the bed, and I was getting reports back. And this happened over, I think it was about 5 or 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. He went from being unable to communicate and being, his body was like a giant water balloon. That's the best way I could explain it. He had severe edema all over his body. And with the bed tilted, I got frantic calls from his wife saying that it was non-stop urination. It's just like you've turned a tap on, and all the fluid came from his body, and his clothes literally fell on the floor. But his Parkinson's started to respond. He started to walk around more. He was communicating more. I was getting this feedback, and I thought, I've got to go over and see this for myself. So unannounced, I knocked on the door, and I expected to see the lady that I'd been talking to, and who should open the door was this guy. And we had a conversation, and he said, "Oh, you've come to see my wife, have you?" I said, "No." I said, "I've come to see both of you, really, because I've been hearing all these stories." He said, "Hang on, I'll just go and get her." And he'd run up the stairs, give his missus a shout, and then run back down the stairs. Oh my God, what's just happened?
That's crazy.
And a few weeks later, by now he's taken himself down to the park, down to the school playing fields to see his grandkids playing, and he was doing that regularly. Okay. Going down to see him. Yeah. And this is a guy that he wasn't moving anywhere. Wow. But the icing on the cake was that I got a panic voice from one of the phone calls saying he's been out messing with his car, which has stood there for years. And he's managed to get it going, and he's took it out for a drive.
Oh my gosh, that is so encouraging, isn't it? That's so great to hear.
Yes.
Gosh, that's awesome.
But what we found, which is really interesting as well, which is worth mentioning, they give these patients levodopa or L-dopa, which replaces the dopamine that the body should be making. And if you overdose on L-dopamine, you get an erratic behavior. Now, I remember seeing Oliver Sacks, was it, who did the film The Sleepers, where the patients were in a catatonic state and he gave them L-dopa, and he had to keep increasing the doses to get them out of this catatonic state.
Oh, interesting.
And in the end, the erratic behavior was so great that it had to be stopped. But I saw exactly the same symptoms, and I said, he's taking too much. There's too much L-dopa going into his body. He's getting overdose symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So we reduced his wife reduced the dose by 50%, and the erratic behaviour stopped, and his improvements continued. And then he started to develop the erratic behaviour again, and again the dose was reduced by 50%, and the erratic behaviour stopped. Now, either the brain was producing its own version of L-dopa, or the uptake of L-dopa had been increased. And I really don't know what the answer to that question is, but fascinating.
Yeah, you'd have to find out. Wouldn't you do an actual test on someone like that? That's interesting.
Yes.
So do we know, have you heard of anybody having an effect on their dream life, either people that have too many dreams or don't dream enough? Have you heard any effect on dreams in terms of sleeping with an inclined bed?
Vivid dreams has been reported so many times.
Really?
And I've experienced them regular as well. Absolutely, it's like you live in the dream, which it sounds like a bit of a pun, but you are actually in the dream, and you can actually control what happens in the dream.
So it's like a lucid dream kind of a thing.
Yes. And it's really bizarre. It is so real.
Yeah. Golly, that's so crazy.
So the brain is more active at night, without a doubt.
Yeah. And when you're relieving pressure on it, I would also think that it might be good for people that might have headaches or concussions or things like that too, but just a guess.
My last migraine was in 1994 when I tilted the bed.
Oh, really? When you tilted it?
I haven't had one since.
What do you mean? So before you tilted it, that's when you had it, and then
I used to have migraines regularly.
I see. Wow, I could see if you went the other way, you would get it would be too much pressure, like inversion.
Yes. Actually, I did get a bad headache, but it wasn't a migraine when we slept head down.
Yeah, I remember you said that.
My wife. Yeah.
Golly. Wow. Well,
there's so many things that we've seen, like old scar tissue, scars that have been there for years. I had my leg ripped with barbed wire when I was a youngster, and it left a deep channel in my leg where it had healed up. It went flat, virtually vanished.
Really?
Lady down the road had a gristly scar on her chin. It disappeared. Blood clots in people's legs vanished without a trace.
That is interesting. Yeah, I'm looking at your site.
Another good one for the ladies, and it's a recent report. There's a testimonial on the website, and please do read the testimonials.
Yeah.
There's a lady that's just reported cellulites vanished. So that's again, that's a problem that you put creams on, and we're told that the creams work, but they don't. But she's tilted the bed, and now she's got nice smooth legs. She even sent a picture of her smooth legs.
Wow. It's funny. I'm on your website here, and I'm looking at one of these old pictures of, it looks like a drawing of someone who was, it looks like here, prenatal lessons from the past. Robert Falcon, MD, 1853 to 1926. Cesarean delivery in Central Africa, 1879, on an inclined bed.
Yes.
Are there places that you could go rather than having to outfit your bed yourself? Are there things you could, like, what would be the easiest way to do this?
It really depends on what type of bed you have. If you've got, over in the UK, a common bed is like a box structure. So you have two boxes, wooden frame boxes covered in fabric.
Okay.
And these are joined together, and these are called divan beds. Now, that was the very first bed that we tilted. We put 6-inch blocks under the head end, where the under the frame, not the wheels, and 3-inch blocks under the centre where the bed's joined at the centre, and used a screwdriver to lever off the casters off the bottom of the bed. So that's one method of dealing with a very simple incline. Some of the bed frames are strong enough to just raise the head end of the bed, but there are some more enterprising people have put some solutions on the website. I think it's in the frequently asked questions section on the website. Okay. Methods of raising the bed.
Oh, I see. Let me go to that page right now. Yeah, FAQ, methods of raising the bed. So you have a bunch of different ways of doing it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, this is pretty interesting. Yeah, so I like your idea of putting a 6-inch block at one end of the bed and then halfway down the bed doing another 3-inch block because you wouldn't want your bed to be unstable.
Yes.
Yeah, this is interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking through all this right now. Very interesting. I think we're going to have to do this.
The other thing is that we've not touched upon is the what NASA has spent a fortune researching what happens to astronauts when they go into space. Apparently they age 10 times faster than they do here on Earth. The bones decalcify, the heart atrophies, the muscle atrophies. They develop stones in the kidneys, the liver, the bladder. They have neurological problems. They have visual disturbances. They have fluid shifts in the body. They have a terrible time in space. But NASA thought, well, we can't keep paying all this money to send people up to watch them deteriorate. How can we do this back here on Earth? So they're paying people up to $17,000 to sleep head down in a bed. And they've actually replicated the 10 times faster aging process.
Really? So they've replicated that by sleeping the opposite way you're talking about?
Yes.
Really? So how have they been able to determine that? Just through different biological markers they're able to test that?
Yes. Yeah, comparative studies with people that have been in space and people that have, the ground base.
So I guess you can't really say the opposite would be true in terms of anti-aging, but maybe it is. Maybe what you're talking about, inclined bed therapy, is also anti-aging.
Well, funnily enough, we knocked on my son's door the one day, and he hadn't got an inclined bed, and we knocked them up. It was really early in the morning. I forget the reason we were there, and one by one they came down the stairs, and my granddaughter had eyes like Jaffa oranges. They were all puffy, and then my son's partner came down, and her eyes were like Jaffa oranges, and then my son come down, and his eyes were like Jaffa oranges. So they all got these baggy eyes, which we're all familiar with when we look in the mirror first thing in the morning.
Oh yeah,
and we gave them our bed, and I went round there and sorted the grandkids' beds out because they should have been on an angle, and for some reason they ignored what I'd been saying in the end and put the beds back flat. And lo and behold, no more baggy eyes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they've been feeling good. No more baggy eyes. Waking up refreshed.
Avoiding major infections as well, which is a big plus.
Wow. So I'm going to go on your site afterwards. I like this FAQ page because this gives people some practical ideas in terms of how they can do this themselves. But I'm going to go into your area. I think you got an area on your site with research, and so you can look at all the different studies and things, right?
Yes, and the theories there as well. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Is this where you spend most of your time? Do you do this as a full-time thing, helping people with their beds?
Well, yes, it's took over my life, really. It's yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's but I think I've been seeing what I've seen. That even if I had my time all over again, I would have to do it all over again. It's just far too important.
Far too important, and it's helping people in so many different and unique ways.
Yes. I just feel really I've let people down because I'm a nobody. I'm just a mechanical engineer that's got a different way of looking at things. Had I been a qualified doctor, it would probably have flown now. But it's just picked the wrong person really, because When I started this, I had no idea of what I'd be up against. I've had so many people promise that they're going to do something. I've convinced so many academics that this is the right way to go and this is the right theory. And I've had loads and loads of promises, and I just get let down every time.
Wow. Well, this is, to me, super fascinating. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to do our bed up, do it correctly so we can have 6 inches at the head. And then we'll talk about what happens. I think that might be kind of fun for people. Maybe everyone listening to this could do the same thing and do a little experiment.
That would be fantastic if people at home could do their own experiments and keep a journal.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, write down everything that troubles you, every ailment, every lesion on your skin, old scars, varicose veins, whatever you have. Write it down, have a good moan, how you feel in the morning when you get out of bed, whether you've got loads of energy in the morning or whether you feel malaise in the morning.
Uh-huh.
And then document what happens to you over the weeks after you've tilted the bed for comparison, because people always forget about feeling good.
Mm-hmm. And you know what?
People always complain about feeling bad, but nobody ever complains about feeling better.
Right. Because you get so used to feeling good, and you forget.
Just knock it up another. That's done. Now we'll move on. And we'll see what else is around the corner. Which is the right way to go, really, because dwelling on illness is not healthy either.
Yeah, that's not a good thing. You don't want to be always just talking about something that's wrong with your body.
Before you go, there's a boxer called Tony Moran,
mm-hmm.
and he won a world title age 42.
Really?
Now, age 37, his arms were dropped down, and it was like he was hitting the opponents with powder puffs. He'd lost all that power. And he admitted his career was over, and we tilted his bed. He went 12 rounds with Tony Robb, and he was as fit in round 12 as he was in round 1.
Wow. How long had he been doing the inclined bed therapy? How long?
I think it was about 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
Yes. But I also told Tony that when you get back into the corner of the ring, I don't want you to sit down, Tony. I want you to stand up in the corner of the ring and hold your hands down by the side of you and shake your hands.
Mm-hmm.
And just do this every time you go back. I says, and your arms will be recharged with full power when you come back out in the next round. That's exactly what happened.
Wow. Yeah, bringing some...
His fights are on YouTube for all to see. His previous fights are there, and the latest fights with the bed tilted.
Oh, that's so cool. What is his name again? Tony?
Tony Moran.
Moran?
Yes.
Tony Moran. Okay, we'll have to look him up.
Lovely guy.
Golly, that's awesome. Well,
he came down to meet me and say thank you.
That's so cool. Is he English?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, thanks, Andrew, for being on, and thanks for your research and sharing everything with us today. I know our audience is going to love this because they're always looking for ways to sort of biohack or, get shortcuts into improving different areas of their life that are relatively easy. Because once you do this, all you got to do is just sleep like normal, and everything's fine, and you're getting all the benefits. So
the pleasure is mine.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right, so the best place for people to find you would be inclinedbedtherapy.com.
Yes, and also on Facebook by the same name.
And is that a group or is that like a page that people could
We have a group and a page.
And a page. Awesome. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Andrew. Hang on the line there really quick. I'm just going to close out the show. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I really appreciate this. Hope you enjoyed this show, and I'd be very curious to see if you try this experiment. I'd love to know. Maybe you can post about it or share, with us an email about your experiences with doing an inclined bed therapy. And one thing you might want to do too is do the old Broda Barnes technique and check your thyroid, your underarm temperature. Maybe something you could do, check your temperature every morning when you wake up as well. So that could be something that you could add to this. So if you want to listen to this page or get access to his website, you can just go to extremehealthradio.com/506. And if you know of anybody that might benefit or be interested, please share the show with them. I think they would appreciate that. And Andrew and I would appreciate that as well. So thank you again for listening, for all your support. You guys are amazing. We really appreciate you. Let us know if we can ever help you, and we will catch you guys on the next episode.
In the 1950s, Dr. Joanna Budwig had a 90% success rate curing people of cancer using fresh pressed flax oil and cottage cheese. The combination of dairy protein with unoxidized flax oil was able to restore oxygen transfer. It is now well known the cells of our bodies require unoxidized omega-3 and 6 seed oils to both attract and absorb oxygen. For the first time, there are seed oils with virtually zero oxidation, even after 1 year at room temperature. All other, quote, cold-pressed seed oils are structurally damaged and significantly oxidized by the time you consume them. Andrea's seed oils retain the correct shape, electron content, and information that is quickly communicated to all the cells of your body. By taking these sacred seed oils, your whole body will begin to use oxygen as the Creator designed it. Now combine this with our Life Force Enhanced One World Whey protein, and you have a winning combination to confer energy and health like never before. Click on the 5-seed oil banner right here on extremehealthradio.com. That's extremehealthradio.com.
Well, there you go. Interesting ideas from Mr. Andrew Fletcher from inclinedbedtherapy.com. Make sure I get that name right for you. I don't want to lead you astray with the website. Yes, inclinedbedtherapy.com. What do you guys think about that? Was that something that interests you? I think it's fascinating to me anytime we have people on like this, because what I like is, from time to time we get people listening, I should say, that write in and say, you know what? All you're doing is selling a product, or all you're doing is doing shows where products are being sold. But I have to just comment on that really quickly. It's really challenging in today's world to do a show where there's no product or there's nothing being transacted, because everyone really has a website, everyone has a book, everyone has a program, a course, a piece of software, a piece of hardware, some supplements or gym equipment or fitness stuff, and there's nothing wrong with doing a show. If we're going to sell, high quality items that I think are going to be able to help you, I want to do a show and find out what these products are and the people behind them and stuff like that. So we just make those shows available, but they're the very, very small percentage of the overall shows that we do. So this is the 506th show. So very few of them are we actually selling the products of the people that are on the show. But I do think it's important to be able to offer products that are going to help you. And if we're going to sell products, I'd like you to know who you're buying from and what's behind those products and how they can help you. Because we use them, and a lot of times we don't know all the science behind the rebounding or the saunas or stuff like that. But what I thought was really cool about Andrew is that he doesn't really have anything to sell other than the fact that he's got a website, which is nice. And I don't think he has a book or anything. I think it just helps people at his website and through his Facebook stuff. And so anyway, I just thought it was really interesting concept, and I never really heard that before, but it makes a lot of sense. The only thing is, I want to make sure, I'm going to go through and read his website, because I want to make sure that what he's doing is correct. Because one of the things, or the reasons why, for example, I stopped eating a raw vegan diet. For those that don't know, I did that for 7 years, 100%. I was all over it, 100% raw vegan. And one of the reasons why I stopped doing that was because I couldn't really justify, if I had done that for 30, 40 years, I just thought to myself, a lot of times I'll do future goal setting or future planning, and I'll look back. So I'll place myself in the future. So I imagine myself as a 70 or an 80-year-old person, and asking myself if that diet that I was on was conducive to what I wanted to do. And I just thought, maybe it's not, I've done a lot of research, listened to a lot of people, read a lot of books, and I just thought, there's something inside of me that says, no, that's not right for you. And if you do something that's not right for 30, 40 years, and someone tells you at that time, if someone is able to unequivocally say, you needed to eat meat in order to be healthier, and shows the science behind it and all that stuff, I would just have my heart would sink, and I would think, crap, I can't go back 30, 40 years and change that, right? So I thought to myself, okay, I'll introduce small amounts of animal products. I'll eat primarily plants, primarily vegan, but I will have animal products in my diet, and I'll try not to make them, obviously make them the highest quality possible, but also, make sure I'm not the it's not the dominant part of my diet. So I just thought I'll hedge my bets and take like the flight of Icarus, take that middle path. So you're not too high where you get burned by the sun, but you're not too low and it's too cold and you fall into the ocean, right? So I take that middle path and hedge my bets. And the way I hedge my bets is through, energy medicine, through doing Qigong, meditation, praying over my food, being grateful, gratitude, drinking water, exercising, getting out in the sun and exposing myself to the different spectrums and rays of the sun. And that's how I hedge my bet. So I assume, like, let's say, for example, if my diet, if mankind is not supposed to eat meat and I'm eating a small part of my diet meat, well, if it actually is damaging to me, I can offset that damage by doing everything else in my life, right? So, but in the case that I'm betting for is that it's actually beneficial to me, then everything else I'm doing that would normally have hedged my bet is actually helping me improve. So one of the things I want to do is if I'm going to spend 8 hours a night sleeping on an inclined bed like this, I want to make sure that I don't make any mistakes. And after 30 years of sleeping this way, which would be a third of that 30 years, right? That'd be 10 of those 30 years would be spent doing this. I want to make sure that it's actually healthy, and I'm going to look more into his research and look more into that. But I do think he's onto something. I don't know what it is. You know how you have that gut feeling, that just innate feeling that someone's doing the right thing? I get that with him. I really do. I feel like what he's doing is noble and what he's doing is accurate. I don't know if it'll be accurate for everybody. I forgot to ask him. I was going to ask him. I had it in my notes to ask him about pregnant people, pregnant ladies, and if that would be a good thing. I don't know. And I don't know, obviously a lot of what he was talking about was anecdotal, so I don't know if, there have been proof. But like he was saying, you're not going to be able to do studies and get actual proof and peer-reviewed, double-blind placebo studies because they're just not going to put any money into something like this. So I find it fascinating, bizarre, interesting, and also I understand why there's not a whole lot of scientific proof because, like I said, they're not going to pour money into something like this, which is because obviously you only want to pour money. It's basically like investing in a business with these studies that you hear everyone talk about, right? They're basically, investing in something they can make a return on. And if the study is going to show positive results, then they can make a positive, show positive findings, and then from there they can actually help benefit people, sell a product, sell a drug, or whatever. So you're not going to really, even if the studies did show tremendous benefit, they're not going to be even done because they would cost money to do the studies. But then, if they publish a study, how are they going to benefit from that, right? So, what we can do though is test ourselves. And so I'm going to look more into his research, and I'm really cautious about stuff like this because I don't want to make a wrong decision. I don't want to spend 30 years doing something only to find out after 30 years that I damaged myself in some way. So I'm going to look more into his research. I really like what he's saying, and intuitively I believe everything he's saying is true. And so I guess really all I should go is by my intuition, right? Really, but I don't know. Some part of our ego wants to look at studies and things, right? It's kind of a bizarre thing. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that show. I thought it was interesting. I'm curious, are you guys going to do like a challenge? Are you going to, if you do, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you do. And if I'm going to look at his research, and I'll look at other people's research as well. And I'll look into this. And if it's something that I think we should do, I think we're going to do it and see how we feel. I want to kind of document everything and get Kate on board. I'm sure she'll be on board. Yeah, interesting stuff. I just think that health is much more easy than you and I think it is. It doesn't take a whole lot to be healthy. It doesn't take a lot of money. Really, all you'd have to do is just fill your life with sunshine, clean water, eat real food, do some exercise, expose yourself to some full spectrum sunlight. Be grounded on the ground. Be grateful. Go to bed early. Sleep a lot. Have sex. Make sure you're going to the bathroom. I mean, really, being healthy does not require a whole lot. Now, if you want to do things like, we do, like the Qigong every day and the rebounder every day and meditation, and I'm standing at a standing desk. All these things cost money and things. So, but if you have extra resources and extra money and you want to spend, some money on improving your health, I think that those are excellent choices. And I think it's something that we should all consider, because really, it's really more important in my mind to invest in your health and tools that can help you, rather than, a new car or putting value in something that depreciates like that. Or, why not, invest in yourself with health tools and health gadgets and courses like the Qigong course we have in our store is awesome. It takes 20 minutes a day, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening. And, what an incredible thing to be able to do for your health, a daily Qigong practice, and sauna practice. I'm going to get in my sauna after this. And so, but you don't need any of these things actually to be healthy. You really don't. They expedite the process and they can help you. And something like inclined bed therapy can help you. But, health is something you earn and something you work out every day. It's a mindset. And it's an attitude of being grateful. And so all of these things are tools to help us get there quicker. So I'm just curious if you guys like that show, what you think of Andrew, what you think about his work and his research. I'm curious if you've ever done inclined bed therapy. I'd love to know what you think about it and how it's affected you. That would be really interesting to hear. Let's see. This page is going to be extremehealthradio.com/506. So if you have any comments, I'd love to hear what they are. So go to that link that I just shared, 506, and post a comment there. I need to get back to all my comments and improve them because they're stacking up on me. But I'd love to hear your thoughts if you've tried it, or if you've had any friends tried it, excuse me, or anything like that. I'd love to hear. One thing I did get from Andrew after the show off the air was he has a different website, another website, sharing with me some interesting ideas. He's got something called OperationOasis.com, and I'll put a link to that on episode 506 too, so you can look at that. But he's sharing with me some ideas about the drought here in California, and he asked me if I would be able to ask you guys if you have any good images of the California redwood trees. I know you can find those on Google Images, but if you have any yourself of the California redwood trees, could you go over to inclinedbedtherapy.com and send him those images? Because he's working on a book right now, and I think it has to do with Operation Oasis, but I'm not sure. I think it is, actually. And if you could just go to inclinedbedtherapy.com and find his contact form and send him a picture of those California redwoods, I know he would appreciate that. He asked me if I would share that with you guys. So, great guy, just a really nice gentleman, nice guy, nice, doing good things in the world, I feel. And I don't know, I just really wanted to feature his work and bring you guys differing opinions, differing ideas about things you can do easily and effortlessly in your daily life that would help improve your health. So, hope you guys enjoyed that. That was 506. Just so you know, also on the homepage of our website, we are now putting up the next show that's going to be on. So if you want to know who's coming up, what the next interview will be, we do shows Monday, Tuesday, Friday. So if you want to find out who's next and submit your question to them, you can check our homepage for that, and I'll try to keep up to date with that. Our next guest is going to be Dr. Kevin Connors. That will be episode 507, I believe. We're going to be talking about Rife frequency, the Rife machine, and cancer. And Dr. Connors has been on our show before. You can look through our archives. He's a really great guy. He's doing some really cool things, so we'll be talking about that. One other thing I want to let you guys know, too, is that per a listener, I forget which listener sent us this suggestion, but it was really amazing. She suggested, is there a way to make it easier for our listeners to buy through our Amazon link? And there is. So what we've done is, if you look on the right-hand side of our website, you only have to do this one time, and it's a really great way to support the show because, who doesn't buy from Amazon, right? But a lot of people are saying, I forget to go to Extreme Health Radio first when I'm going to make a purchase on Amazon. I don't think about it. I just do it. So this is a good way to support us, and it's probably one of the best ways. So all you have to do is go to our website, extremehealthradio.com. You're probably out driving or running or doing a workout or, doing something right now. But when you remember to go back to your computer later, if you go to our website, on the right-hand side of our website, there's an Amazon image, like support us on Amazon. Below that, there's some blue text. And all you have to do on a Mac or PC is click on that blue text, hold that click down, and drag that blue text over to your desktop, and that will create an icon. And that icon now will sit on your desktop, and you can rename that icon to, EHR-Amazon or something like that. And you just use that as your Amazon link now every time. So you don't even have to go to our website or anything like that. And it's a super great way to support us. I don't know why I didn't think about that earlier. That way you don't have to remember to go, think about us. Just make sure to go through that icon for all your upcoming purchases. So thank you for doing that. Also, I want to let you guys know too, we are starting a membership site in 2017. We're working behind the scenes on that. It's going to be a great place for us to build a community. So many people write in and are asking about it, and I don't know when it's going to be launched, but I do know it's going to be in 2017, and we're really excited about it. We're going to bring together a private, exclusive community where we can all come together and share protocols and ideas. And we're going to be talking with doctors. We're going to create long form content, hour-long shows, but then we're also going to be creating short-form content about specific health questions. So if you have a question about how do I build my immune system or how to overcome a cold or beat the flu or something like that, we're going to have little tiny snippets, and we're going to cut all of those things out. So everything is going to be categorized. You're going to be able to find home remedies for all kinds of really prominent health conditions, and we're going to be adding to this as we go along. There's going to be a forum in there where you guys can make friends, and I'm going to be able to connect with you guys too. That's one of the things that I've really been struggling with, is I love to connect with you guys, but it's challenging with all of the shows that we do. And so for our members, we're going to be able to connect directly with you. Potentially in the future, maybe do some in-person conferences and seminars and all kinds of cool stuff. So the sky's the limit for this memberships website that we're going to be building. We are building. So it will be a paid membership. Nothing will happen to Extreme Health Radio. It'll be the same, always free. But if you want to dive deeper and connect with other people and help get answers to your health challenges, then this is going to be the place for you. It's going to be a monthly paid website, and we're going to be offering a discount when we first launch it for probably a week. So it'll be a lifetime discount too. So the price will never go up for you. The price will go up over time, but for anyone who joins at the beginning, your price will always stay the same. So that's kind of our way of saying thank you for helping build this membership. So I'm just really excited about it. It's something that I want to do. I want to be able to connect with you guys, on a more daily basis. And I want answers to health questions. And we have a ton of resources and access to doctors and things. So we're going to be bringing them on, and we'll do all kinds of things. Maybe we'll do, a cleanse, group cleanse once every 3 months, 4 months for the change of season, overseen by a doctor. Maybe we'll do group classes on different things and take listener questions and Q&A. And, the goal is to really fortify your health, get you feeling amazing, and get you connected with other people who are crazy like us, who care about this kind of stuff and want to support each other. So that's the whole goal, and eventually get to meet each other in person and have fun. And so I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to join, there'll be a link on this page. Like I said, it may be a couple more months until it's launched, but you can sign up to if you put your name and email address in, you'll be able to sign up, and we'll let you guys know via email when we launch, and that way you can get access to the discounted price. And that's going to be a big deal because the price will never go up for you. So that'll be a good thing. Always a good thing. All right, so thank you guys for supporting our work. You guys are awesome. Your support on Amazon, your support in our store, you guys are amazing. I really appreciate it. And a lot of you guys are supporting us on PayPal, on Patreon, sending us $5, $10 a month. Man, you guys are just so awesome. I seriously, I wish I could just meet you in person and give you a hug and just say thank you for supporting our work. My gosh, wow, I'm just so blessed. It's just amazing to be able to put out information that helps people so much so that they want to help us financially. I mean, what an amazing time we live in. I'm just so grateful, so thankful. So you guys are awesome, and so we appreciate you so much. And if you'd like to support us any other ways, a great way to support us too is just sharing our shows on Facebook. If you like it, share it with your friends. We'd appreciate that. That would be awesome, awesome sauce. Anything else to get to? I think that's about it. We love you guys. Thank you for all your support. Oh, one final thing. You may be listening to this in the future. But for right now, our good friend Marcus Freudenman from episode 490 is doing weekly webinars right now every Tuesday talking about ozone and ozone therapy on like everything from diabetic ulcers to repairing leaky gut, Crohn's disease, digestive issues. People are using ozone for cancers from candida, bloating and gas, all kinds of digestive issues. And so he's got a program where he walks you through how to do all this stuff at home with different protocols. So he's doing free webinars every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Coast time. For those that are listening, and today's date, just so you know, is January 24th, 2017. So if you're listening in 2019 or 2020, I can't guarantee what's going to happen those years. But for right now, he's doing weekly webinars. So if you want to join the webinar, I'll put a link to the webinar, and you can also get access to previous webinars too. So if that is interesting to you, we'll put a link on this show page. So everything will be available. Everything that I talked about will be available at extremehealthradio.com/506. That Amazon link, the Patreon link, the link to the ozone webinar classes, the store, our sponsors, all that stuff. And you can also listen to the show there, as well as click over to his website too. So everything is at extremehealthradio.com/506. And I think that's it. Thanks, guys. We love you. We appreciate you so much. And let us know if we can ever help. And we will see you on episode 507.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis